It actually happened? It must be so nice to be a Yankees fan. Like, you guys literally live the plot of the Polar Express every single year, but the only difference is it's not a dream. You literally wake up to Juan Soto underneath your Christmas tree like it's a Turbo Man. Like, if you're an A's fan or a Guardians fan or a Royals fan, when's the last time they signed a superstar or traded for a superstar like this and then actually kept them? It doesn't happen. Now, of course, we're going to talk about the Juan Soto to New York trade because there's a lot of moving pieces, but also E-Rod, Eduardo Rodriguez, he's on a brand new team he just signed. Same with Jaime Candelario, the team that he went to. It's very surprising. And then Craig Kimbrel, they all signed. So there's a lot to talk about in today's recap. A lot of people were asking, Fuzzy, how come it took so long for this video to come out? Well, I'm not trying to get too morbid or too sad, but I live in Las Vegas. I went to UNLV. That could have been me, and it shook me up. I had a lot of anxiety, but we're back to normal. Thank you guys for the kind words, and my prayers go to anyone affected because it could have been me. What a great, happy transition, Fuzzy. Good job, man. So let's go ahead and liven up the mood because one of the biggest trades in the history of baseball just happened. I'm not being dramatic. I'm not being hyperbolic. Juan Soto, he's a future Hall of Famer. It's already done. In a 7-player trade, the Yankees are getting Juan Soto and Trent Grisham in exchange for righties Michael King, top pitching prospect Drew Thorpe, and then other righties Jhony, Brito, Randy Vásquez, and then probably a backup catcher and Kyle Higashioka, who I did not know. He's been with the Yankees for 15 years. So let's talk about what the Padres just did because they completely rebuilt and retooled their starting rotation for the future, starting with Michael King, who just turned 28 years old. And to end his season, if you guys don't remember, Michael King, he kind of became a prolific relief pitcher for the Yankees. Then he became an opener, and then he became a full-blown starting pitcher. His final 8 games started in 38 innings. This dude struck out 48 hitters, and he held his opponents to a .232 batting average and a 1.88 ERA. Michael King is disgusting. He held them to a .607 OPS. That's amazing. So now you have a pretty good 1-2 punch. Even if Blake Snell leaves, you have Michael King and Joe Musgrove. Also, Yu Darvish is still on the squad. That's pretty good. Now, I don't know if Drew Thorpe is going to make the big league club in 2024, but what this kid did in Double-A last year, it was sick. Now, it was only 5 starts, but in 30 innings, he struck out 44 hitters. That's a 13.1 strikeouts per 9. And this is the crazier part. He held his opponents to a 4.5 hits per 9. That's better than 2023 Blake Snell. I'm not saying that he's going to be that. But Drew Thorpe, he's one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. Michael King showed ace-like stuff to end the season. That's a pretty big haul if you ask me for a Juan Soto who could be a rental. I mean, I think that he's going to test free agency, but we'll talk about that in a moment. If you look at Jhony Brito's 2023 as a whole, you would see a 4.2 ERA and not a lot of strikeouts. You're thinking he can't be very good. Well, to end the season, I just want to let you guys know his final 25 innings, Jhony Brito held his opponents to a 184 batting average with a 1.4 ERA. So it seems like as the season progressed, as he got used to major league hitters and the kind of process of being an MLB pitcher, he got better and better. And this kid, he's only 25 years old. Another 25-year-old right-handed pitcher, Randy Vásquez, he was pretty good. He had a 2.87 ERA in 11 games. Now, again, the strikeout numbers were not there, but just like Mr. Jhony Brito, I feel like with time, Randy Vásquez, the strikeout numbers were there in the minors. Those are probably going to come back and creep up as he gets used to major league hitters. I mean, this is a pretty solid depth trade for the Padres. And speaking of depth, the final player I want to talk about going to the Padres, Kyle Higashioka. I do not think that he's going to be the everyday catcher because Luis Campusano, I think that's how you say his name, he flat out rakes. Defensively, he's pretty decent as well. The only thing that Higashioka does pretty well is frame, and he's a good leader. He's got a perfect game and a no-hitter, so he knows how to call games. That's a skill as well. But here we go. I cannot believe I get to make a video on this. I'm going to remember this in 30, 40 years when Juan Soto walks into the Hall of Fame as a Yankee. He's a Yankee. Now, I love this website, Baseball Savant, because it really showcases what a player does really well, and you want to see red. Juan Soto's Baseball Savant is full of red. Now, the only thing that Juan Soto is pretty bad at is one, defense, and that's kind of it. Everything else, he's elite at. In 2023, Juan Soto hit 35 home runs, tossed in 12 stolen bases just for fun. He had a .410 on base percentage. I don't think you guys understand how prolific Juan Soto is offensively. The fact that Aaron Judge and Juan Soto are going to be in the same lineup, It's not fair. Over Juan Soto's final 55 games as a Padre, he smoked 15 home runs and he had a near 930 OPS. Every Yankee left fielder combined over the course of the entire 2023 season had 19 home runs and a 667 OPS. They fixed their biggest hole with one trade. Remember, Juan Soto is the only player in MLB history to have 600 walks through their age 24 season. And I can't remember how old he was. Maybe he was 19 going on 20 years old, but Juan Soto, I mean, he was doing this in the World Series. Juan Soto is off to one of the greatest starts to a career ever. I'm serious about that. If you don't like Juan Soto, you just don't like baseball or having fun, or you just think that he's too showboaty. I can't wait to see him in the Bronx. Now, the other player going to the Yankees is Trent Grisham, and despite him being one of the worst hitters in baseball in terms of just putting the ball in play, he actually gets on base a lot because he takes a lot of walks, he almost never chases, and he is a fantastic defender, one of the best defensive center fielders in all of baseball. He had 7 outs above average in center field last year for the Padres. That's near platinum defense. He had 13 home runs, 13 stolen bases, and what's crazy about Trent Grisham, he hits better against lefties than righties. So I don't know what this means for Alex Verdugo, because I feel like they now have too many outfielders, which is crazy to say that out loud because their one problem was that they don't have enough outfielders. Now they have too many. Maybe an Alex Verdugo Shane Bieber trade is about to happen. That's my prediction. And here's what the 2023 lineup looks like for the Yankees. If it's not Trent Grisham starting, you have DJ, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Anthony Rizzo, Giancarlo Stanton, Alex Verdugo, Gleyber Torres, Austin Wells, who got better as the season progressed. Same with Anthony Volpe. This is a lineup. And the reports are right now that Giancarlo Stanton has actually lost a good amount of weight, so maybe he's going to be more pliable, do I dare say, and maybe that means he's going to actually play 150 games. I don't know. Now, I know Michael King and Drew Thorpe and Jhony Brito, all the other guys, that doesn't quite match what the Padres gave away from Juan Soto a few years ago when they made that trade for the Nationals, but in terms of their starting rotation depth, this is really good. And you have to remember the Padres still have Ha-Seong Kim, who broke out. They have Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Fernando Tatis Jr. I'm probably missing a few guys, but now they're also in the running for another potential superstar in the making. The reports are right now that Jung-Ho Lee is in the crosshairs for the San Diego Padres. So if you can replace Juan Soto with Jung-Ho Lee, and he's even 80% of what he's been in the KBO, that's pretty good. Now, of course, Jung-Ho Lee is not Juan Soto, but if you have a Jung-Ho Lee, Fernando Tatis Jr. outfield, I don't know who the center fielder for the Padres is going to be, but that's a really good defensive outfield because Lee, I think he's already won 5 consecutive Gold Gloves in the KBO. Now, one more thing to mention before we talk about the other free agent signings. Juan Soto, he's set to make about $33 million, which again is not that much for a guy who's already going to make the Hall of Fame. And because it's a contract year and he's making $33 million, the Yankees, they're probably not going to have any problem giving him an extension because you probably have to bump it up to what, $38 million, but he's worth it. He's one of the best hitters ever. Now, just like I mentioned yesterday, just because the Yankees got Verdugo doesn't mean they're out on Soto, and the same thing, just because the Yankees got Soto doesn't mean they're out on Yamamoto, so they could still fulfill their destiny of Yamasoto. Now, staying with some other free agent pitchers, Eduardo Rodriguez has signed a brand new deal with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and when I just say that out loud, it makes sense. The Arizona Diamondbacks were a surprise team, but on paper, they had all of the tools in place to make a World Series run, and the crazy part is, they're not even at their peak potential. They have Jordan Lawler, Drew Jones, and now they have Erod in that rotation with Zach Gallen, who was very disappointing, I'm not going to lie. You have Merrill Kelly, who was one of the better pitchers in the postseason. Now Erod, a big game pitcher, huge. I do feel bad for Tigers fans because he kind of screwed them out of a few pieces because he was traded to the Dodgers and then said, no, I'm going to stay in Detroit because I don't want to move, and then he left a couple months later. I feel bad for Tigers fans, not going to lie. But this is a massive signing. He gets $20 million, I believe, for the next 4 seasons. Eduardo Rodriguez, again, he had a 3.3 ERA. He is one of the better lefties in baseball. I love this move. Now, if we're talking about the Diamondbacks, we have to talk about the Phillies and a former Philly pitcher, Craig Kimbrel. He's on the move. He will be replacing Felix Bautista as the Baltimore Orioles closer heading into 2024. And the only reason why this was allowed to happen is because the Mountain, Felix Bautista, he suffered that Tommy John injury. Now, a lot of Reds fans are confused right now because they just signed Jaime Candelario to a 3-year contract. And Jaime, he's coming off one of the best seasons of his career. If we take a look at his stats, he had a near 3 WAR, and that's because he had a 119 OPS plus, over 50 extra base hits. I think he had 60 plus extra base hits, and he played some pretty good defense at the hot corner. So I could see why the Cubs traded for him, because when he was with the Nationals, he was one of the best third basemen in all of baseball, not just in the NL, in all of baseball. So Jaime is going to split some time at third base. He's going to split some time at first base, but because they moved on from Joey Votto to give more playing time to Christian Encarnacion Strand, Noelvi Marte, he looked really good in his short time as their everyday third baseman. There's no room for Jonathan India because Matt McLain is probably going to be their shortstop or second base. You have Ellie De La Cruz. Jonathan India just became expendable, and he already was, but now it's almost a guarantee that India, the rookie of the year from a few years ago, his time with the Cincinnati Reds, it's probably over. So let me know in the comments, what do you think is more likely to happen? A Shane Bieber for an Alex Verdugo trade, or Shane Bieber for Jonathan India, and then maybe India is the DH for the Guardians because India is, he's got bricks for hands. He's not very good at defense. Now, because we just talked about Jaime Candelario, a former National, let's talk about a brand new National, a very small signing, Nick Senzel. He's very good against lefties. He hit 350 versus lefties a season ago. So in my humble opinion, he's going to be on a contending team at the All-Star break next year, probably in August. He's going to get flipped to a team that needs a platoon outfielder, maybe the Phillies. I feel like that's a perfect fit. And then the Nationals, they'll get some pieces in return. I want to see the comments flowing, but that does it for today's recap. Let me know what you think of Jaime going to the Reds. Do you think that India is going to get traded? Craig Kimbrel's on the Orioles, Erod's on the Diamondbacks, and then of course, history has been made. Juan Soto and Aaron Judge are on the same lineup. I can't wait to watch it.